Well, as we reported earlier, the defense secretary made a surprise visit to a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier stationed off the coast of Israel. Lloyd Austin thanked the nearly 4,000 sailors on the USS Gerald Ford for giving up their holidays to continue their mission of monitoring the war between Israel and Hamas. The other U.S. aircraft carrier in the region, the USS Dwight Eisenhower, is patrolling the mouth of the Red Sea. This after many commercial vessels have come under attack from Iran-backed Houthi rebels. They say the strikes will continue until Israel stops its bombardment of Gaza. And we turn now to Simone Ledeen, senior fellow at the Strauss Center and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Middle East Policy. Simone, great to be with you today. A lot to discuss, but first, let's talk about the Red Sea and why it's so important.
The Red Sea is one of the major shipping routes that container ships use globally. So in terms of global trade, that's one of the main thoroughfares that is used.
And the Houthi rebels, they have said that they have the capability to turn the Red Sea into a graveyard, and they will not stop what they call their military operations, despite the launch of Operation Prosperity Guardian. That said, what do they have to gain by doing all this, and what do you think their endgame is?
Well, I think it's important to take a step back and recognize that the Houthis, the Iranian-backed Houthis, are actually just one branch of the big kind of malign Iranian tree, which Hamas is another branch, Hezbollah is another branch. This is all being directed by Iran. So I know a lot of people are looking at this like they're all separate issues, but it's actually, we're in the middle of one big escalating regional conflict. So I think it's important to note that, and I think that context helps to understand why the Houthis are doing this right now.
Yeah, a really significant point right there. It is reported that more than 100 container ships have been rerouted due to the attacks by the Houthis specifically. Can you talk to us about how this is possibly impacting global trade and maybe the supply chain?
Absolutely. In fact, today, it's been announced that, in essence, all major container lines have abandoned the region, even after the announcement of Prosperity Guardian. So we're talking about, all manner of global trade. Obviously, the Bab el-Mandeb, the Strait, the Red Sea overall is where a lot of the kind of global energy trade, like oil, that's used again across the globe, transits. So any possible good that you can imagine that would be on a container ship crosses the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb in particular. So in terms of snarling global trade, yes, it is today massively snarled, and it's going to get worse and worse. When you hear the major Greek shipping companies announce, as they have today, that they are no longer transiting the Red Sea, that is highly significant. That is a highly significant development, and I think that we will be seeing the second and third order effects of this very shortly, very shortly.
Yeah, and a big concern, I'm sure, for the global economy and possibly inflation. We have about a minute or so left, Simone, but where do you see this all going, and what could be next?
Well, I think one of the things that's incredibly significant about this moment is how weak the United States military looks, and it pains me to say this, but even with the announcement of Operation Prosperity Guardian and the increased number of ships that are supposed to be protecting, these are U.S. Navy ships and coalition Navy ships that are supposed to be protecting these big kind of container ships, nothing has changed. In fact, it's clear that these big container ship companies don't believe that the U.S. military and its coalition partners are going to protect them. That is significant, and I think calls for a change in policy that the U.S. I believe should have done many months, if not years ago, and actually imposing costs on the Houthis and indeed on all of the Iranian proxies that are causing such problems in the region, and will continue to do so at great cost and expense to everybody else, in both blood and treasure.
Well, Simone, thank you so much for weighing in. We really appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you very much.